Let's get ready to rumble.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode. A lot's been going on, particularly with Don Lemons, as we've covered previously. Don Lemons is out here telling people he's been on his podcast, basically telling people, "Hey, I did nothing wrong. The DOJ is trying to get me and stuff like this and stuff like that." And obviously, you're gonna have people defending Don Lemons. We already had Jennifer Walsh defending Don Lemons, and today we're gonna have Brian Shapiro, who is going to become another individual. And if you know Brian Shapiro is a man with TDS. You know, man hates Trump. If you go to his YouTube channel, Pushing the Limits, the man just has a big thing against Trump, hates Trump, thinks all the MAGA supporters are pieces of crap. And so obviously, who better than to defend Don Lemon? So we're gonna get right into it, and we're gonna see what and actually try to prove some of the stuff that Don Lemon says wrong here. All right, but let's go ahead and do it.
As I've been doing ad nauseum, which it's my oath to do, I think, is to tell the truth and defending what Don Lemon did, because I don't think he did anything wrong. He's a great journalist.
You know what I'm saying? It's his oath. He has to defend Don Lemons. He's here for the truth. A lot of times, Brian Shapiro really doesn't care about the truth. He's just one of those guys. He claims he's not a lib. He's not a Democrat lib. But if you've seen him with Myron Gaines and Andrew Wilson and other people, even I saw him when he was on the Tim Pool podcast on YouTube. Brian doesn't want to answer the questions, throws a lot of vagueness out, and then wants to do his little thing. But we're gonna get into see what he thinks about Don Lemons here. Let's see if we can get a little fast forward here. Let's see.
And so I was just covering a group of protesters. And went to when they got to the church, I told my team, don't go inside, don't go on the property. I said, but if something pops off, if they do create a disturbance of some sort or whatever, if they start protesting in the church, then it becomes a thing, and then we can cover it. So right. The protesters went in, it became a thing, and we covered it. That's it. That's it. There was no chanting. I was not in the middle of the scrum.
Now, remember, part of Don Lemon's argumentation to is that he didn't know. Right, he didn't know this was going to happen. He didn't know that they were going to go in, but apparently now he's like, well, if they go in, now we're going to go in and chronicle. Remember, this is a big word. He wants to chronicle because this is what journalism is, right? To chronicle and stuff like that. So before this, he's saying that he didn't know that this was going to happen, and all of a sudden now he's just like, okay, cool. If it happens, we're going to go in there and start looking and stuff and doing stuff like that. All right.
I was standing on the side saying, "This is what's happening."
Right. When they say you broke the FACE Act, they don't even know what the FACE Act is. It's like, first of all, you weren't protesting. You weren't just.
And neither apparently does Brian Shapiro. For those who don't know what the FACE Act is, let me go ahead and tell you what the FACE Act is. This law prohibits use of force, threat of force, or physical obstruction that injures, intimidates, or interferes with any person seeking to obtain or provide reproductive health services. It was big because a lot of the anti-abortionist people, they would be outside trying to convey people, try to tell people not to go into the abortion clinic and all this. And so people just think, okay, it's just for reproduction. This also says the same, but then it actually is added onto something else, right? And then Brian Shapiro apparently seems to forget. And in the episode that Don Lemon had with Keith Ellison in his podcast, apparently he doesn't know what the FACE Act is either. So Don definitely doesn't know the FACE Act either. But here's what it says as well: similar actions, force, threats, obstruction, property damage that interfere with a person lawfully exercising or seeking to exercise the First Amendment right of freedom of religion or religious freedom at a place of worship. Okay, the FACE says it really does not prohibit peaceful picketing, protesting, or other expressive conduct protected by the First Amendment. Now, the problem is that they could have protested outside and outside of the church, and they would have been fine. The fact that they went into a service while the service was going on, and then they wanted to disrupt the service, that is now a violation of the FACE Act. But Brian Shapiro is making it like, well, it just protested. And again, remember, the big issue with them is, well, the First Amendment tells me I could protest. The First Amendment tells me I could do that. These two individuals don't understand it either. Okay, there was no problem if the people were outside of the church protesting, but because they went inside of the church and thus disrupted the service, then it became an issue because now you are interfering, obstructing a religious service going on. Violation. There's no way around it. Brian is saying here, and obviously because you got to defend your homeboy, you got to defend your homie, right? Because you got to defend them, you're going to be like, well, I don't see why. People don't know what the face says. Bro, did you read it yourself? Huh? Did you read it? Do you understand what it's saying? Because, by the way, your boy here didn't know what the face was about either. He probably didn't. He never even heard of it because he was on the, First Amendment this, First Amendment that. But we're going to catch Don Lemons in another freaking lie because this man just likes lying. And people like Brian, people like Jennifer, they're going to protect homeboy. They're going to protect them.
Disturbing anybody. You weren't protesting.
All right, let's go ahead and jump over here because there's a clip where he says something and I caught him, and we're going to play this. Let's see right here.
Cruisers out there, SUVs, black and white SUVs, none of them ever approached the protesters. I had to walk right by them to get to my car and nothing. I mean, there were police there. So what do I make of the arrest of the protesters? Look, I think that people can exercise their First Amendment right to peaceably assemble. And to me, it looks like that's what those people were doing. I don't think there were any threats. Do protests get out of hand? Sure. There was no.
Oh, by the way, there was a new evidence that supported that the protesters actually were blocking the parents from going to the children, because obviously when you're in church, you separate the children and they have their own little service. According to reports, is that they blocked the stairs that leads up to where the kids are from the parents, and basically they were telling the parents, telling the kids, hey, did you know your parents are Nazis and that you're gonna go to hell and stuff like that? Hey, isn't Don Lemon supposed to be chronicling? He didn't chronicle this. Did he just forget to chronicle it? He was, bro. If you look at his live stream, you can see all where he's freaking recording. He didn't catch any of this crap, huh? He just wanted to record the parts that he knew he could defend, but he wasn't going to chronicle that. But we have the report saying that these people were actually were telling kids stupid stuff like that. So what happened, Don? You didn't chronicle? Didn't chronicle that part?
Nothing physical. I don't think anybody was blocking anybody from the door.
Because he wasn't trying to catch that. He wasn't trying to show that part. He only wanted to show his part.
They were just chanting. So I think it's unfortunate. I wish that the pastor would, have tried to talk and calm the situation down a little bit. But, the heat of the moment. But it's really not up to me to judge the protesters or to judge what happened. It's just me to chronicle it and to be.
He's not here to judge the protesters and judge anybody, but then he judges the pastor, judges the Christians. He calls them, remember in the other video that we did and we reviewed the one with Jennifer, he calls them white nationalists, racist, white supremacists. He doesn't want to judge the protesters, but he wants to judge these people. I told you the hypocrisy of these people, the stupid people. And when they get called for it, then they want to back up. We got the receipts, boy. And I'm gonna watch this receipt.
Journalist, and that's what I did. I hope that those protesters get the Justice Department himself in. And
I do find it interesting, though. They want a full investigation, these people on the right, into you and all these protesters. But yet when somebody shoots Renee Good.
Actually, let's go back because I want to tell you where we catch him in a freaking lie. Let's see. I think it's
already been made. Do you have any opinions on that? They've already arrested several people.
I thought there were like 2 or 3 police cruisers out there, SUVs, black and white SUVs. None of them ever approached the protesters. I had to walk right by them to get to my car and nothing. I mean, there were police there. So what do I make of the arrest of the heat of the moment and calm the situation? They were just chanting. So I think it's unfortunate. I wish that the pastor would, have tried to talk and calm the situation down a little bit. But, the heat of the moment.
And why does he have to shift it to the pastor? My boy, your people went in there. Those protesters went in there, disrupted the service. Why couldn't they calm it down? Why did it come in the pastor? The pastor is there. And I'll show you a little piece because there is a part where I think Brian Shapiro asked him.
And look, I would prefer to talk about
There's a part here where and I have to look for it, where Brian Shapiro asked him if somebody asked you to leave, right? And he says, and Don Lemon says, no, no one asked me to leave. Right. The pastor asked me to leave, but he said if I'm gonna worship, that if I could stay, if I want to worship, right? That's what he says. That because Brian asked him if they were saying that some people thought it was trespassing. Obviously, the pastor asked you to leave. And Don saying, no, he didn't ask me to leave. He asked me to leave, and I worship. Why? Okay, cool. Let's see what actually happened. All right. Let's see what actually happens in that interaction because we have it. Let's play it. So, guys, he asked him to leave, right? And he said, and Don is basically saying, well, he asked me to leave, but I could have stayed if I was going to worship with him. Don ain't trying to worship. Don's trying to piss off somebody. Don's trying to get these people. And then again, he said to Brian Shapiro, I wish the pastor would have talked to somebody. The pastor just told you nobody wants to talk because those agitators weren't there to talk. They were there according to their information to try to point out and get someone who is on staff but also works for ICE. They were just there to point someone out. They weren't there to have no conversation with no pastors, stuff like that. Don is just trying to again run cover, run and defend, just like his boy Brian Shapiro is doing in this podcast, right? He's over here trying to defend Don. Don is trying to defend the protesters. The thing is that Don doesn't even recall anything that he does. He said, I have to, there's a few times where he said, I have to go back and look. I have to go back and look. My boy was there chronicling, but he doesn't remember the fact that he's saying that. And again, we caught him in the lie where he told him, technically he is trespassing because the pastor told him to leave. And Don said, well, I could have stayed if I was worshiping. And then we left. Bro, these guys are crazy. And the fact is that his own live stream basically outs him out because he also said in the beginning of this that he didn't know, but then he's in his own live stream saying, oh, we got information that we're going to go protest in the church and stuff like that. So you did know where you were heading to and what could have happened. Come on, bro. You cover riots. You cover these anti-protesters, these anti-ICE protesters. Most of the time they end up doing something either very violent or something destructive. This guy's stupid. This guy's acting like he's never been around these people and stuff like that. But man, you know what? He's out there still. He's on his podcast, basically doubling down and stuff like that. And who knows, man? I mean, if anything, this guy should still get charged for something, for trespassing or something, right? Because there's no way. But you'll have guys like these, his boys, the people that just hate Trump and hate anything that Trump does and hates ICE and all that. They'll come and defend people like this. It don't matter who. It could have been somebody else, right? It could have been Jake Tapper for all I care. It could have been somebody else, and they would have still come here and defend it because hey, Trump bad, Trump Orange Man bad, MAGA bad, everything bad. But guys, let me know. What do you think? You think Don's gonna get arrested? You think that anything's gonna happen? You think the DOJ is gonna get him for at least something, right? But let me know. But I appreciate you guys. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the button, guys, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode.